He was the most feared man in the Western Hemisphere, a drug lord whose empire stretched across continents, and whose decisions altered the course of history. But Pablo Escobar didn't fall because of luck. He fell because he made enemies powerful enough, ruthless enough, and determined enough to chase him to the ends of the earth. This is the story of how those enemies came together: Colombia, rival cartels, and the United States, to bring down the most dangerous criminal the world had ever seen. For years, Escobar had operated in the shadows, making billions off cocaine shipments that crossed oceans and borders. He bought politicians, built armies, and created a network so large that no one truly knew where the power ended and where the fear began. But the first spark of his downfall didn't come from the police, or the DEA, or even the government. It came from a betrayal inside his own world: the Cali cartel. While Escobar built his empire with violence and intimidation, the Cali cartel built theirs with silence and influence. They bribed judges, funded politicians, and they hated what Escobar was turning Colombia into: a battlefield, drenched in blood and bombings. Escobar saw them as rivals. The Cali cartel saw Escobar as a wildfire that needed to be extinguished before it burned the entire country, and so the first alliance formed, one built on fear, money, and the shared belief that Pablo Escobar was becoming unstoppable. The Colombian government was collapsing under pressure. Car bombs, assassinations, kidnappings, entire neighborhoods terrorized by the Medellin cartel. Escobar wanted to rule Colombia not from the presidency, but from the shadows behind it, and he nearly succeeded. But then came the death that changed everything: the assassination of Luis Carlos Galán, the presidential candidate who openly challenged the cartels. It was a turning point for the nation. Colombia had lost patience. The government declared war on the cartel, and they reached out to the only ally with the resources to track a ghost: the United States of America. The DEA, the CIA, Delta Force, signals intelligence, aircraft surveillance. For the first time, Escobar wasn't just fighting police with radios. He was fighting governments armed with satellites, and they were watching everything. Escobar responded with brutal force. He attacked politicians, judges, police, anyone who stood between him and freedom. He believed fear could still keep him untouchable, but the more he fought, the more enemies he created. Soon, there weren't just two sides in this war. There were three: the Colombian government, the United States, and the most dangerous group of all, Los Pepes. Los Pepes, a vigilante organization made up of former Escobar associates, families of his victims, and members of the rival Cali cartel. They hunted cartel hitmen. They burned safe houses. They targeted anyone connected to Escobar. And the government looked the other way. Some believed the Americans did too. For the first time, Escobar was surrounded from every direction. He wasn't just hiding from the police, he was hiding from the people he once controlled. His empire fractured. His lieutenants defected or were killed. The Medellin cartel was bleeding from the inside. Even his closest allies began to question whether their loyalty was worth dying for. Escobar fled into the mountains, then into the city, constantly moving, constantly watching. Communication became his greatest weakness. Every phone call was a risk, every message a possible trap, but he couldn't escape the one thing that made him human: his family. Every call he made to his wife or children gave search teams a new signal, a new set of coordinates, a new trail to follow. The hunter had become the hunted. In the end, Escobar wasn't brought down by a shootout worthy of legend, but by a final mistake. A single phone call made from a rooftop in Medellin. A signal picked up by Colombian intelligence. A location relayed to the search team. When the police arrived, Escobar ran across the rooftops in a desperate attempt to escape. But there was nowhere left to run. After years of terror, billions of dollars, thousands of lives lost, and a war that reshaped an entire nation, Pablo Escobar, the man who once believed he was untouchable, was finally cornered. Whether he was killed by police or took his own life remains debated to this day. But one truth is undeniable: he didn't fall because of one enemy. He fell because of all of them. The government he tried to control, the rivals who refused to fear him, the vigilantes he unknowingly created, and the foreign power that refused to let him rule the drug trade. Pablo Escobar built an empire strong enough to fight nations, but fragile enough to be undone by the consequences of his own actions. In the end, his greatest enemy was himself. That is the story of how the world united to bring down the most dangerous criminal in modern history, and it is a reminder that no empire built on fear can survive forever.